Head over to miniaturemarket.com where they have thousands of board games at discounted prices like Planet Unknown. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going to a planet that's unknown. We're going to be building the planet up from scratch with different biomasses and techs and civs and rovers and saving life pods and getting rid of meteorites and doing all sorts of fun stuff. Today we're taking a look at Planet Unknown, the deluxe edition. Let me show you what's played. I'll see you on the other side. In Planet Unknown, you're trying to have the most points by drafting polyominoes, placing them on your planet, moving up different tracks, and having all sorts of different strategies. One of the coolest things here is it has like a lazy Susan that spins, and on a player's turn, one player's gonna be the active player, they're going to basically pick which spot they look at. And when they do so, they'll pick one of these two things to place. Everyone else needs to pick one in front of themselves as well. So let's say someone was sitting over here, picked this. And let's say we're sitting here. So each player has a different set to pick from. I have to pick either this one or this one. Now let's say I picked this one. Now, your first tile has to go on the edge somewhere, then every other tile has to at least touch a straight edge of one of the other tiles that's there. So you're gonna be sort of like working your way out from where you start onto your planet. Now, one of the main ways to score in this game is completing columns or rows in your planet. If we complete this row here, it's only 2 squares big, so it's not gonna get us, pretty much very many points, just 1 point there. But on some of the bigger ones that has more spaces, they're gonna be worth more. So if you finish this column, you get 3 points. 2, 2, 1, 1, 1. So the bigger ones are harder to get, but they're worth more points. But you're doing that not only for the columns, but also for the rows as well. Again, the bigger ones being worth more points, of course. However, some of the things you draft might have meteors on them. And what this does is it blocks you from scoring. So if you have a meteor in any row or column, you cannot score that even if it's finished. We'll talk about how you remove those later. Also, when you draft these, they're basically gonna have like 2 different types of terrain here. And each of those are gonna allow you to move up a different track. So we see 2 different terrains. You see this green one here and this black one here. The green is biomass and the black is civ. So let's look at our board. So for each of those, we will move up 1 on this track. So you have different strategies of different things that you want to do. And as you get to certain spots, different things will happen. Some of them will be worth straight points. So if I get this one up to here at the end of the game, I'll get a point. If I at least get this far, I'll get 2 points, and so on and so forth. But some things will allow you to do different things. Like if I got another green one, I would move up 1 to here. Now we look at this. This is a wild. I can move up any track. I can even move up this track. So let's say it was our turn and we spun it to this because we want this piece. Again, everybody else is going to take one of the pieces in front of them, and always it reveals what's underneath it. So let's say we put this piece here. Again, it has to go next to at least one of the places we have. It has a meteor, but it was the same 2 tracks. So again, let's say we move this one up 1. We're going to get 1 point there at the end of the game. This one moved up 1. As we said, this allows you to move up anything. Let's say we move up this one. This one allows us to get a civ card at level 1. This would be level 2 up here, level 3, and then level 4. Now, those different cards give you different things, like just 2 points at the end, or a point, or like a biomass patch. This allows you to fill in a small little 1 grid on your board, or you can take a tile from the depot, which is the lazy Susan, and you get to place it. So pick any one and place it. That's kind of cool, but you don't advance for its resources. So these cards are kind of cool. The faster you get there, the more choices you'll get, because there's the number of players plus 1, and the higher levels you go, the more powerful they get. So that's just one other track of cool abilities you can get. And again, moving up this track, anytime you get one of these, you'll get to put one of those biomass patches, which I showed you, helps fill in little gaps in your polyominoes. Now the water track itself will get you kind of points by the end of the game or allow you to move up other tracks. But water is kind of interesting because in order to actually be able to move up the track, in order to actually move up there, I need to place one of the waters on at least one of the water spots. And there's different water spots all over. But if I did something like this, I would be able to move up water. But if instead, I wouldn't really want to do this, but if instead I did something like this, where this water's not touching water, I wouldn't get to. So it's sort of a little requirement there. So I might do something like this. And we're also going to talk about the rovers, which are really cool. So in that case, I would have been able to move up 1 on the water and 1 here. Now, when you see this, you're able to take one of your rovers. Now, I must mention that I have the deluxe version. These rovers are crazy. The meteorites that I showed you are crazy. In the retail version that you get, they are not these 3-dimensional. This is the deluxe version. But when I move up and I get to a rover, I will get to place one of these anywhere on the tile that I just placed. And maybe I did want to place it here. I could have placed it on any one of those. Now, as I move up this track more, I'm gonna get one or two and place another rover. Two different types of movement for the rover. And these are cool because they can move off the grid, off the tiles. And sometimes you're gonna be moving them here. This is another deluxe component. I think it's just a token in the normal one. This is a life pod. And if I get the rover there, it allows me to place the life pod here, essentially gaining me a point. But if I end up putting a polyomino on this, it destroys it and I won't be able to get that point. It just kind of comes off the board, if you will. Now, we talked about these meteors and how they're sort of bad, but if you're able to get your rover over to one of these, you place it there and you get to collect that meteor. Number one, opening this now column up to actually be able to score if I finished it, but also placing it here and you get 1 point for every 3 meteors. So that's what you're doing with your rovers. Now let's talk about this last, the tech track. You're gonna be moving up and possibly getting to different levels. Level 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's gonna unlock stackable abilities like tile adjacency placement restriction is ignored. So now you can place things anywhere. Or if you get to level 2, you can store biomass patches to be placed at the end of the game. That's really useful. So all different abilities that you can use. There's also sort of a wild resource known as energy. It's this one right here. Now when you place it, it doesn't have its own track. You can either go up the track of the one you went on, like water for example, or you could go up one that's orthogonally adjacent to this. So I could go up next to the rover if you want to. So by placing these, you can advance of other tracks if you're not getting the right drafts of the type of terrain that you want. Now there's different goals that you're fighting for as well. You'll have one of these in between each of you and your neighbor, or there'll be 3 in the middle if you're playing a 2-player game. But here is, for example, you want to collect the most meteorites between the neighbor to your right, for example. If you do, you get 5. If you tie, you get 2. Or if the neighbor to your left have the least civ resources on your planet. So meaning, have the least amount of those types of tiles. So you're fighting with both neighbors, which is fun because it gives you interaction. You can also play, in addition with that, with other cards. These are all double-sided, and you can use the private objective as well. So you can get 2 private objectives, select one, and then deal out the public objectives that you're playing against your neighbors with, and these give you different goals as well. There's also events that comes in an event deck with 3 levels, green, orange, and red. This is the only add-on to the game I recommend not playing with. I found it very random, not fun, and it felt like kind of a Kickstarter add-on, if you will. Green alerts like, hey, this comes up this round and we get to gain a synergy bonus. Okay, here, oh no, we can't build on the edge. Here, we don't get any milestones going on your tracks. They just felt, I don't know. They did not add anything to the game. It's optional. I don't ever play with this event deck. Now here's an amazing part of the game that really opens the game up. So far, I was just showing you the basic map and a basic board where everyone's the same. You could play with different asymmetrical maps. Look at this one. You build on the side, then you're gonna kind of have to like go around this thing. Also, everyone can have a sort of a corporation that is asymmetric, that everything is very different. Like this is my favorite one. It starts with 4 rovers, and to collect a meteorite, you must go pick it up and then deliver it to your planet, and by getting it to a rover resource. And this whole one is all about the rover track, going up to different levels, and then when you match the tech track with the rovers, it allows you to do more and more and more stuff with the cool rover synergy. It is so fun, but there's so many boards. And as you can see, there are, again, a lot of these different boards. Look at that, 8 different ones there, plus all of the different maps. There's a lot here. But I also want to remind you that a lot of the things I showed you today was in the deluxe components, like this Lazy Susan, where it all fits in, where normally it's just a flat board, you just like stack the pieces and stuff. So this is the deluxe edition. At the end of the game, you're gonna look at your score, you're gonna look at the ones for all your completed rows and columns, you're gonna look at how the points you got from your resource tracks, the life pods you saved, the meteorites, possibly civ cards, and your objectives, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Yeah, I love it when games have a lot of simultaneous play. That's, in this case, it's not real time. I love real time. This is not real time, but it's simultaneous, and I like that because with simultaneous drafting games, they tend to play higher player counts with the same time, and I like that because too often when you have big player counts, it's like, what party game are we gonna play? Now don't get me wrong, I love party games, probably more than most reviewers, but I also like to play meaty games that play a lot of players that don't take 4 days to play. That's this, I like that. This game is like a game you can play up to 6 players in under an hour. I mean, even if it's everyone's first game, it's great. The simple mechanisms. This game's so easy. Pick one of the 2 tiles, place it, move up the track, do an ability, maybe. Like, it's so simple. This is huge on my depth to complexity ratio, meaning the depth is huge, not a lot of complexity. I love it. I love the Lazy Susan, by the way, as I mentioned in the overview, that is a deluxe edition component only. I just love the way that thing works. It just works so well. Either way, selecting the polyominoes and doing the, basically starting on the edge and adjacently placing those, like a lot of polyomino games, I love the way that works here. Moving up the different tracks. You moving up the Civ track to get cool cards, and you get there first, you get the better choices. Getting the rovers to go get those meteorites and get those out so you can get more points in the rows and the columns, or going to get the life pods and scoring points that way. The biomasses, filling in the little grids. I mean, all sorts of really cool things to do when you're moving up. The technology tracks, unlocking the different technologies. I like it. I like that adding the meteors hinder your scoring, so you're trying to figure out, oh, I want to put this piece here, but then it's this, and now I'm gonna have to get a rover to go get it. I don't have a rover close, so I don't want to put it here. I'll put it somewhere else. It just adds another, again, lots of layers of depth in this game for such simple mechanisms. Do you give up a life pod and destroy it to put a tile there because you really need to get a tile? You want to complete that row. You give up a point, but maybe you're getting 2 points for completing that column. It's just like, it's just great. The decisions in this game are awesome. They're fantastic. Unlocking all those tech abilities is really cool. And of course, the biggest thing here, the asymmetrical boards. Now, with everyone having the same board and the same planet, the game is still great. It's still a great game. But when you add in being able to flip the planets, which I don't think it's cool, but I like the abilities better. The boards and the abilities and the different asymmetric sort of strategies in this game take this game from a great game to an amazing game. I mean, it's fantastic with all the different strategies you can play. I always want to play with that rover one because I just love it. The wild energy resource is really cool. Do you take what's on that tile? Or do you put it next to something that you really need? Allows you to get things if the drafting isn't going your way. Filling in the holes with those biomatches passes and trying to get things towards the end, get things done, it's excellent. The goals, the end game goals are great. Fighting with your neighbors, again, a game that you're drafting and one player is telling you which two you can pick on that turn. Isn't like super interactive, but it does limit your decision space. But then when you're fighting with the other players for goals and looking at theirs, again, there's enough interaction there that makes it a lot of fun. I like that you need to watch the timing of the end of the game because it can basically end when somebody can't place a piece or all the things of a certain like depot, all the pieces are gone. So you got to watch when people are getting close to the end, and you can play with that. I always like it in games when you can kind of change when the game ends, and this has that. I love that. So let's talk, overall this game's amazing. Let's talk about the very small nitpicks I have with it because the game is fantastic. First, the initial setup, the first time when you're punching out all the polyominoes and putting them all together and all like baggies or all like Lazy Susan, it's very the first time you set this game up, it takes an hour. But after that, it's very quick, which is cool. So it's just an initial one-time thing. Second, pickup is a little time consuming because you got everyone's boards and everyone's gonna put all the right pieces in the right piles and then you gotta put them all together. Again, this is a small nitpick. It's longer than I like it to be, but at the same time, if everyone's helping out, it's not a big deal. And I'm shooting for something to be very unbiased here, but I love this game. It's fantastic. And the deluxe edition, I'm not usually into the deluxe components. I'm quite fine normally with cardboard tokens. I don't need the wooden bits. I am fine with wooden color standees. In fact, I typically like them better than miniatures. In this game, because of the Lazy Susan, and because of the dual layered boards, that's a very functional thing. I think the deluxe edition is the one to get here. It's just got all those extra pieces. Where setting up is so fast with the Lazy Susan. Put it on the table, go. With the other ones, you got to take them out of the bag, stack them up. It's a little longer. The deluxe edition is awesome. With all that being said, this game's fantastic. I would be absolutely shocked if I wake up and this is not on my top 10 games of the year this year. And this game's been out for a while. And usually the games towards the end of the year, because they're fresher in your head, get to move up faster. This came out a while ago, and even with that being said, man, this is fantastic. By the way, it came out a while ago to Kickstarter backers. It's about to hit retail. For example, Miniature Market is going to be selling it in September here shortly. So for some people, it's going to be the first time they can get it. But with all those reasons, this is staying in my library. So it is getting my highest honor, a saxophone serenade, which means in about 6 months, I got to figure out which game's getting knocked out once this moves off my new arrivals shelf. So with all that being said, let's hit it. Game Toppers not only transforms your existing table to a high-quality gaming solution, they now offer full leg kits and dining cover solutions for the full table application. Paired with their amazing, thematic, premium stitch edge mats from noted board game artists like Vincent Dutray, collapsible cup holders, and really cool accessories, it's a complete system that upgrades every game you play. Go to GameToppersLLC.com or click the link below to late pledge for their latest Game Topper 3.5 Kickstarter campaign.